Hello there, dear viewer. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the recent Criterion Collection titles I've been watching and adding to my collection, including the very first Janus Contemporary titles that I've acquired. The first one I want to talk about is this. Two films from Yasujiro Ozu. We have A Story of Floating Weeds and then his later remake of that film, Floating Weeds. If you've never experienced an Ozu film before, then you absolutely must give one a try, because he is a one-of-a-kind filmmaker. His meticulous staging and framing of every shot, next to no camera movement at all in any of his films. And his films have such a power, such a beauty, great characters, great scripts. I'm absolutely in love with his filmography, and Floating Weeds is one of my favourites. I do also enjoy the original 1930s silent version, however, I prefer the remake. Now, in this set you get both films on one Blu-ray disc, and that's probably one of my main complaints about this set, is I wish each film had been given its own Blu-ray disc, purely for compression reasons and getting the better quality image out of these films. I think they have been crammed onto one disc and it has affected the quality at times of these films. It's the kind of thing that not a lot of people will recognize in the image, but if you are susceptible to noticing compression artifacts and macro blocking in the image, then they are present at times on these discs. So do be aware of that before you buy. There's also been some conversation about the different colours in these versions compared to the older Blu-rays, such as the one from Eureka Entertainment, because this has a much colder look and a much more grey kind of colour palette to it. However, I believe that this is how the film should look. I think the older versions, as much as I enjoyed the old Eureka disc, it was oversaturated, it was pushing the colours a bit too much. Some of the human faces just kind of looked a bit unnatural. So I think here we have actually got a better representation in the 4K restoration that's on the Blu-ray. So aside from the cramming the two films onto one disc, I think this is a great release. Floating Weeds is one of my favourites, like I mentioned. I enjoy the original as well. So you're bang for your buck here, you're getting two films in one set. And I think this is a release that many people should have in their collection. Now we come to one of Criterion's highlights of their release schedule last year, which I've only just gotten around to. It's Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, which got this fantastic 4K release, presenting 3 different cuts of the film, including the theatrical cut on 4K, the new 50th anniversary cut on 4K, and then on the Blu-ray you have Sam Peckinpah's final cut. Each of these versions are different, and I always love when we get multiple versions of a film in one package. I think the film looks great on this 4K disc. The film itself is such a beautiful Western, sort of getting a bit revisionist Western here, and Peckinpah was, a master of this genre, having made great films like The Wild Bunch, just for example. And also on the discs there is a great new documentary about the making of the film. So a fantastic release for a brilliant film, if you ask me, and certainly one of the highlights of Criterion's catalogue last year. Now all of these are the Region A discs from the United States. However, if you're in the UK and you want to get some of these imports, then head over to Boutique Home Video. They have a whole load of Criterion and Janus Contemporary titles available, including some pre-orders for some very new titles, and I'll include a link to their website in the description of this video. Importing can be a massive headache with hidden fees and worrying about the packaging and everything. So Boutique Home Video is a great place to go because the packaging is great. They post from within the UK, so you get them within a couple of days. So it's just one of the best options if you're in the UK and wanting to get some of these imports. Anyway, let's get back to talking about the films. Now let's get to some of these Janus Contemporary titles, and like I mentioned, these are the first of the series that I've picked up. So I've got 3 here, and I now want to get some of the others because I had a great time watching these. First we have Tori and Lita, the recent film from the Dardenne brothers, who have been featured a number of times in the main Criterion collection actually. I have a couple of them here. 2 Days, One Night, which is a fantastic film, and their Palme d'Or winning Rosetta. And you can also get The Kid with the Bike, which I don't have in my collection. If you're not familiar with the Dardenne brothers, their filmography can be a bit heavy at times because they're focusing on social issues, and their style of filmmaking is very much in the social realism, taking from neo-realism in the past. So it's very real stories, they feel real, and the emotions at times are quite raw. This story follows these two young people who have been smuggled into Belgium from Africa, and they're trying to just make their lives happen. However, they face a lot of difficulties, not just from the white people of Belgium, but also the people that smuggled them in. They're really not on their side, and everyone is just trying to take from them. However, these two kids have formed a very strong bond with each other, even though they're not related. And so they have been surviving with each other, and they really are put through a lot of tests in this film. It can be a bit of a struggle to watch at times, just because it is quite grueling, some of the things that happen to them. However, this is, of course, shining a light on things that are going on, not just in Belgium, but all over the world, and trying to, wake people up or open people's eyes up a bit to this kind of thing and not just turn a blind eye. So it's very powerful filmmaking. I don't quite put it on the level of some of their other films, but it's a very strong film, and I've been thinking about it for quite a while after watching this disc. So what makes this different to a Criterion disc? Well, it seems like they just focus on having one special feature on every release. And the 3 discs I've got here, they all have the same kind of special feature. It's called Meet the Filmmakers, and it's usually a brand new interview with the people who directed the film. So on this one, we do get an interview with the Dardenne brothers talking about making this film, and that was very insightful and a great thing to have after watching the disc. So I think it's fair to say that you come into these Janus Contemporary discs not expecting many special features, so that's fine. But the only kind of thing that holds this release back from being excellent is, again, with the Criterion discs, just the compression, the way these discs are authored. Maybe only a small section of customers are complaining about that kind of thing. So it's one of those things I'm just going to live with, I think. The next Janus disc I watched is A Fire. This is from director Christian Petzold, who I've seen a number of his films before, and they are excellent, including one that's in the Criterion collection, his film Phoenix, which is absolutely superb. I recommend this one to everyone. Do check this one out. A Fire is quite a different story to Phoenix. This one focuses on this young man who is a writer, and he's gone for a retreat in the countryside, in the forest, to stay in this house and work on his manuscript. He's also brought his friend along who's working on his photography portfolio. However, when they get to the house, they realise this mysterious woman is also already staying there, and she kind of disrupts the status quo amongst these two men who have gone to stay there, and things sort of spiral from there. On the outside, there are also these forest fires going on in the region, and they are coming ever closer to where they're staying. So there is this sense of claustrophobia, this panic, this paranoia, and it all wraps up into this very interesting look at these strange characters. The main character is not a great guy, or he comes across very self-important. He's not nice in his interactions with many other people. He's clearly carrying a lot of baggage and confidence issues. So fascinating film, fascinating characters, and I had a great time watching it. We have the same kind of special feature, the Meet the Filmmakers one. It's an interview with Christian Petzold, which I greatly enjoyed. He talked about how the works of Eric Romer inspired this kind of work, as well as the COVID pandemic was very much a key inspiration to the story of this film. Again, some noticeable issues with compression in the presentation. However, it might be something that you might not see. So don't worry too much about that. The film is excellent and well worth checking out. The third Janus Contemporaries title I got was the film Evil Does Not Exist from Japanese director Ryusuke Hamaguchi. Again, this is a filmmaker who's not a stranger to the Criterion collection. His film Drive My Car is in the collection. While I don't have the Criterion disc, I do have the UK movie disc, and the film is excellent. I think if you like Drive My Car, you'll see a lot to like in Evil Does Not Exist. We follow this man who lives in the woods in the snowy region of Japan, and he lives with his young daughter. And where he's living, there are plans to create a luxury camping site in that area. So this is disrupting the entire community, and the local people are trying to fight against this because this big company is trying to come in and just make business of the area, and it will obviously cause pollution. So there is a lot of pushback to this idea in the community, and the main man that we follow, he is a jack of all trades, and he meets with these people who are like representatives of the big company, and this is all kind of playing on his mind, and he has to struggle with these different characters. If you like Drive My Car, you'll be accustomed to the pacing of Hamaguchi's movies. At times they can feel a bit slow because he takes his time with the images, especially in this one because he's focusing on nature and focusing on images of the landscape and various things around to kind of give a sense of place. And it really does work, and it's a place that I want to visit after watching this film. It's a great advert for going to this particular region. There are obviously clear messages here about the environment, looking after our local surroundings, and also pushing back on corporatism when these big companies come into an area and just want to brute force push through change. So another fantastic film, and just like with the other Janus discs, you get the same meet the filmmakers kind of feature on here, and also the compression is not that great in this as well, sadly. Lastly, I'll just mention something I've not watched yet but I'm about to. It's No Country for Old Men on 4K. I can't wait to see this, see what the new presentation looks like, because the film is excellent and you don't need me to tell you that. If you haven't seen it, definitely give this one a shot. I think Boutique Home Video actually have this in stock in the UK if you want to get it early. Otherwise, they have some pre-orders for when it's arriving later on in April. So if you're in the UK and you want to get any of these titles, then do head over to there. I'll include a link in the description. So that was just a quick look at some of the films I've been enjoying from Criterion and Janus Contemporaries. Hopefully it's given you an idea of some things to maybe add to your own watch list. Even if just one of these films interests you, then I feel like I have achieved what I set out to do here. Click the video that's on screen right now if you want some more recommendations and reviews from me. I have tons of Criterion content on the channel, so plenty for you to watch. Until next time, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.